Alright, hello once again and welcome back to the Scratch programming class for the Rankin Technical College Summer Academy. And what I've been doing right now is building a simple maze game. And it may or may not seem simple, but just a couple of things that are going on here. Notice that if I run it right now and I start the game up, there's my monkey, and my monkey can, you'll notice that right now he's allowed to do things illegally, but my monkey can go up and eventually, hopefully, win the game. Okay? And that's all fine and dandy. But there's a few things that, again, I want to make sure that you're aware of. The first is, as already mentioned, that, for instance, for the banana, I want to make sure that when it starts, okay, I want it to go immediately to location -12, 174, which brings it up here. All right, you can see it's right there. But so it doesn't matter. I literally could put it now here any place. It really wouldn't matter. But I also want to make sure that I come in here and let's see, motion looks. I'm going to set the size when it starts to 20%. Alright, so I want that stuff to be sure that it happens all the time. I'm much more comfortable setting it in code like that. Now, as far as the monkey goes, okay, what do we have? When clicked, I'm setting the size, and I'm setting my position. That's all good. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I would like to set it up so that when we win, when the monkey wins, hopefully, we come in and we have some kind of a sound. We haven't talked at all about sound yet, so let's, right now, I'm going to go over to sounds. And you'll notice that down here we've got very similar to what we had with our sprites and our background. I should say our backdrop. But here, I can either choose a sound, and that's what we're going to do in just a minute. I can use the microphone and record my own sound. I can do what's called a surprise sound, where one of the sounds that are in there will be picked for me, or I can upload a sound, and we'll talk about uploading, etc. in a later lecture. But for now, I'm going to click choose sound, and you'll notice there's quite a few sounds in here. Alright, and for instance, I think this time for this one, and I'm going to turn down my sound a little bit just for a second. But I'm going to do a cheer. Where's in here? Where's the cheer? Come on, where are you? And watch what'll happen. Okay? In fact, I'm going to show you this. I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go back. What we want to do is when we win the game, what we're going to want to have happen is we're going to want to set it up so that we do a cheer, for lack of a better word. So if I come back here, if I go back to the monkey, all right, and I go back to my code for the monkey, okay, and I want to set it up so that, for example, let's just go to sounds right now. And I'm not going to worry about putting the exact code in, but if you look right now where it says play sound, right now, because I was goofing around with this before, I've got chomp and I've got chi chi. All right, so if I click on that, oops, that might not actually be a bad sound for the monkey. This, not really. But what I'm going to watch what's going to happen when I go back to sounds and I go over here and I choose a sound. I'm going to choose cheer. Here it is. I can listen to it. All right, so I can try it. Okay, and sounds pretty good. So now when I come back to my code and I click here, notice what's now here, cheer. Okay. A little later we'll come back in and we will come back in and we will bring in a different sound. And I'll show you another way that this can be done. Okay, so we went into the sound library and we chose cheer. All right. Now, what's one thing we have to do? Well, we have to let the system know that when the monkey gets to here, that the monkey's won the game. All right. So, and how do we do that? Well, here's our monkey's active right now. So I'm going to bring in another event. So I'm going to move this down. So for now, I'm going to do another when clicked. All right, and I want to put in a loop, a forever loop. So I'm going to go down to control and I'll put in a forget forever because I want it to keep checking for this. All right, now the problem that we had before, and we'll fix it in just a couple minutes, is right now if this thing touches the maze, it keeps going. We're going to stop that in just a minute, but before we do, I want to come back in here and I want to bring in an if. This is just going to be an if then. Okay, and this will be a touching. So I think that's in sensing. So what do I want to do here? Well, let me move this over a little bit so I can move this over a little bit. So when we're touching the bananas, well, what do I know? I know that when we're touching the bananas, we've won. So I want to play the cheer sound. That's the first thing I want to do. But let's think about what else we want to do. All right. Let's sound. I think what we'll do is we'll say, we'll have the monkey actually say, hooray, I won, for, let's say for, I don't know, 4 seconds. Okay, so we've got that. What else do we want to do? Well, when we're done, there's really 2 things we want to do when you think about it. We want to reset the monkey back to here. That's the first thing. Where the monkey is right now, but we want to reset the monkey back to here. We already know where that is, so we want to do these 2 things basically. We want to set the size and we want to do the go to XY. Alright, and if you remember, we can go back to the my blocks and we can make a new block, and let's call this get monkey ready. Maybe not the best name, but it's the one we're going to use. Alright, so there's get monkey ready. And what we want to do is we want to, I want to do all that. Let's just do it from here. We want to set the size. Always make sure it's at the right size, so we want to set that to 10%. And we'll do a go to XY. And that's 12, negative 168. Alright, but now we don't need this anymore. Whoops, we don't need, come on. We don't need these 2 things anymore. Now what we can do is we can come in and we can call get monkey ready. So we'll do that here, and we'll also do that here. So what am I telling you right now? All right, I'm telling you that when we're always going to be looking for this, if the monkey is touching the banana anywhere, then we play the sound cheer. We don't want to think here. That shouldn't have been a think. That's my problem. That should have been a say. All right. So if the monkey is touching the bananas, meaning the monkey is won, we play the sound, the cheer sound. We say, hooray, I won, and we get ready for our next game. The problem is that right now, the way that this is set up, it's gonna start a new game, but I'm gonna be at the same maze that I was at, and I don't want to be there. I want to go, and I want to be at a different maze. I want to go, if I'm at 1, I want to go to number 2. All right, there's my monkeys back. Good. All right, so what do I want to do? Well, actually what I want to do, and I don't remember which one this is under. I want to broadcast a message. And what that means is that I want to send out a message to tell the maze to go from the maze that it's on right now to the next maze. Now, I could call it message 1, but that's not a great name, so I'm just going to put in here new message. All right, and we'll put in here, how about go to next level. Maybe, that's not the greatest one. We could have probably just called it next level is fine. Okay, so we'll broadcast that message out. Now that message has got to be looked at by somebody, received by somebody, and something has to be done with it. All right, like what? Like go to the maze, which has no code right now, and we will add some. So for the maze, we will say when clicked. Okay. Let's see. There's 2 things that we want to do here. So we're actually going to want to have 2 scripts running. The first script is we want to make sure that when we start the program up like this, we want to, let's see. We want to switch the costume to Maze 1, not Maze 8, Maze 1. So then we'll always be starting right there. That's a good thing. Plus, let's always make sure that when we start, we'll do another go to XY here, and we'll make sure that the maze is centered on the screen. Okay, so that'll handle the beginning. This one then will handle when we receive the broadcast message. Let's see, what do we want to have happen? Hold on for just a second, because I can't read my own writing. Alright, all I want to do when it gets this broadcast message, alright, basically all I'm going to want to do is I'm going to say, when that happens, I think they should do it, next costume, which should move it to the next one. Alright, now, believe it or not, we're getting there. I want to go back in my code, and I want to go back to the monkey. All right. Now, one thing we just looked at if something is being touched. Now, we said here is if the right arrow is pressed, then you want to move this by 10. All right. Well, believe it or not, what I want to put in here is I want to check to see now, because remember the problem that we still have. We play the game right now. Let's see if we can get the cheer to happen. Okay, so we got that. Not that that's that big a thing, or hooray, I won. Okay, good. So that's working. All right, and it moved back, so that's all good. But the problem is we can still cheat. And if you remember, one of the things that we just checked when we were checking for the to see whether or not we won was the is touching. Well, we can also check to see if it is touching the maze. All right, and what does that mean? All right, I want to show you exactly what that means. I want to come in here and I want to add, and I'm going to have to add, I think 4 if blocks, but I'm going to add 1 to begin with, just a regular if then, right there. And I want to say if what is touching? It should probably be in the looks. There we go. So if the mouse pointer, if we're touching the maze, okay, then what we want to do is we want to reverse what we just did. So instead of moving forward by 10, we want to move backward by 10. All right. And I'm going to run this in just a second. All right, so that's the only one we've done right now. Okay, and that's the right arrow. So let's do a file save. It's been a while. In fact, we haven't even saved this yet. So let's call this maze 1 single player. Okay. All right, so I'm going to run this again. All right, and now notice well, it's not letting me move at all. So I may have put the code in the wrong place. I was touching the maze to begin with. That's the problem. That's why it's stuck, for lack of better words. Get monkey ready. Size 10%. Go to 12. Oh, let's go back there and see what happens when we do that. 12. Negative 168. Should be right there at the beginning. That is under Get Monkey Ready. 12, negative 168. So we can move them up. Okay, notice we can still cheat this way. Notice we can still cheat this way. But now notice that when I'm here, I'm stuck. And this is actually still just a little bit too big. Okay, so I'm going to cut them down just a little bit more in size. And believe it or not, we're almost finished with this iteration of the game. So instead of setting the size, I'm going to try setting it to 7%. Okay, and I'm going to grab one of these. I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to put one right there. If I'm touching the maze, well, now I got to change it by a +10. So now I should have my up and down arrows should be set. Let's do a file, save now, and let's run it again. Alright, so now notice I can still cheat that way, and I can cheat this way because I haven't done my Y's yet. But now I can't move that way, and now I can't move anymore that way. Alright, this is fantastic. So what is left here? Well, what I want to do is I want to add a very similar block to the if block I just added. The one we added here will be fine. So let's duplicate that block. And we have to put one here. So again, if we're touching the maze, this won't be changed in X. This will be changed a Y to -10. And then we will duplicate this one more time. And this will be changing the Y to +10. Alright, we're going to go back. We're going to look at everything in just a moment. But I'm going to file, save now. And I'm going to run the program. Okay, there's my monkey. Notice. Okay, well, something is missing here because he's not moving at all. So let's try to debug it. Change Y by 10. Ah, no. If it's touching the maze, change Y by negative. No, that's correct. I'm virtually done with the program. Let's look at what we have. Alright, this is the maze. When the maze is clicked, this will run at the start. Switch so we start at number 1. This is for the broadcast message. Alright, and I wanted to check one thing on that broadcast message. I think it's when I receive, it's not a when clicked here. Alright, so when I receive that, go to the next costume. So let's play computer here. When the program starts, we will switch so we're starting with the first maze. We will make sure the maze is centered on the screen. Alright, then for our monkey, well, let's look at the banana next because that's it. We want to make sure that for the banana, that it is 20% and it's that place on the screen. And that should never have to change. I shouldn't have to write any code. I shouldn't have to write another routine for that or anything else. And for the monkey, okay, I'm going to constantly be checking in here to see whether or not the game has been won by the monkey. If I'm touching the banana, meaning we've won, we play the cheer sound. We say, hooray, I won for 4 seconds. Then we call get monkey ready, which will make sure his size is set to 7%. Alright, and we set him back to the beginning. We also come in and we broadcast our next level message. When we broadcast that next level message, that again should be found here, which should say next costume, which should send us to our next maze. And then finally, for the monkey, one click, get ready, so that's setting him. All right, now we're in here. If the right arrow key was pressed, we want to move him to the right. All right, but if we're touching the maze when we do that, we just want to take that back, for lack of better words. Then we do the same thing with the left arrow. All right, if the left arrow is being pressed, we attempt to move him 10 pixels to the left. However, if we're touching the maze, we reverse that. Next, we do a similar check for our up arrow and our down arrow. All right, for our up arrow, if our up arrow key is pressed, we want to change Y. We want to make it go up 10 pixels. However, if making it go up 10 pixels makes it touch the maze, we want to remove that and make it go back down by 10 pixels. Finally, if the down arrow is pressed, we want to go down 10 pixels. However, if we try to do that and we're touching the maze, all right, if we're touching the maze, we want to go back up 10 pixels. All right. Now, I'm looking in here for something that makes it look like this shouldn't work, and I'm not seeing it. So I'm going to try this one more time. My up arrow, though, is not working. So something is goofed up on this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to exactly what I've been doing with you, and that is I am going to stop the run. There we go. Just didn't have it running. All right, let's see if I can work this. Oh, I'm going to get myself stuck in there, aren't I? Well, hopefully what you're realizing is I am able to play the game now. All right? And so I could try to do this backwards. So I want to come in here. I want to come in through there, which means I want to come in through there. So I want to get myself up to here. Let's see, if I go here, I'm going to be stuck. Okay. Probably not the person to be playing this game. And I'm almost finished, but what I wanted to show you was this. What have we done in here? Okay? This is what's new in this particular example. We added an additional sprite. In fact, we changed the sprite that we were using. All right. We learned about positioning in here. We learned about how these are costumes and how we can make them change from one to another. And hopefully this reinforced a lot of the material that we had gone over before. And there really and truly isn't that much code in here. All right. Now, we're going to come back and we're going to do a couple things. First, this is all fine and dandy. What if we want two different players? So we'll add another player. Okay? For that second player, I was thinking about this. So when we go in here and we look at the different sprites, I started looking through here to see if there's anything I liked. And I kind of liked, where is it? The elephant. Elephants like peanuts, but I didn't see any peanuts in here. There's fruit salad, there's a bunch of other there's different foods, but I didn't see, I could have them have a fortune cookie or something else, but I didn't like any of these, so I'm going to go in and I'm going to add my own Sprite. We'll do that in the next lesson. We'll also add our own sound in the next lesson, and we'll make this a 2-player game. That's what you have to look forward to in the next lecture.